in 1798, and that is the United States of America. Let's read here from the United States, History of the United States, by this professor of Harvard University. He says in what year? 1787, American leaders got together and did what? Wrote the Constitution of the United States. In 1789, the Electoral College unanimously chose George Washington to serve as the first president. And then just 7 years before 1798, the Bill of Rights became law on December 15, 1791. So we see this young nation rising up at the time that the papacy received this deadly wound in 1798. The second point, must arise in an area lacking civilization. Let's go again to the History of the United States by Professor Emeritus of the Harvard University. He says the American Indians formed hundreds of tribes with many different languages and ways of life. Some tribes in the south, now if you remember our geography, we have North America, then we have Central America, and we have South America. Now, south of North America is what we call Central America. This is the tribes in the south, including the what? The Aztec, Inca, and Maya established what? Advanced civilizations. They founded cities that had what? Huge, magnificent buildings. They also accumulated gold, jewels, and other riches. But however, most American Indians were north of Mexico. Where is the United States located? North of Mexico. So most American Indians north of Mexico lived in what? Small villages. They hunted game and raised such crops as maize, which is corn, beans, and squash. Some tribes traveled in search of food and what? Never established permanent settlements. So there was no civilization, no big temples, no huge advanced civilization in North America where the United States was formed. So it qualifies, it did arise in an area lacking civilization. And the last one, which goes without saying, must become a world superpower. We all know, according to the Wikipedia here, the United States has vast what? Economic, political, and military influence on a global scale. What does global mean? Worldwide. So qualifies here. And just to give you a clue as to how the United States power is so great. Now remember, in the Iraq War, this is from International Relations from the World Book Multimedia Encyclopedia, in the late 2002 and early 2003, members of the United Nations Security Council debated whether to take military action against the Iraqi government of Saddam Hussein. Now look down here. The sides failed to reach an agreement, and a US-led, that's the United States of America, led coalition invaded Iraq without the backing of the United Nations. So the US was so powerful that it went contrary to the United Nations and invaded Iraq because they had the power to so do. Now notice how the Mosho word is so accurate in identifying for us that we have absolutely no doubt. Now remember, on this beast, it says he had 2 horns. Now remember, we said a horn is a ruling or a governing power, right? So United States has 2 governing powers, the church and the state. But they are separate. They are not joined as in other European countries and many other countries of the world. In the Constitution, it says, Congress shall make what? No law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So the state and the church must remain separate, and they must not interfere with each other. The power of the government also of the United States was put in the hands of the citizens. So no church could assume rule, no royal family could assume rule, or no one with any particular religious affiliation could have a right to rule. It says here that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. So the hands of government of the United States, the hands of the rule of the country was put into the hands of the people. according to the U.S. Declaration of Independence. So these were the principles on which the United States was founded. Government for and by the people. No king, no pope. Separation of the church and state. Every citizen's right was enshrined in the Constitution. There was freedom to worship according to conscience without fear of religious persecution from a state religion, and so on. So this is seen in the two horns, or the two governing powers of the earth beast. Remember, the sea beast had 10 horns, and upon his horns were 10 crowns. So we know the papacy was a monarchical power ruled by a king. And we see here that according to the Prompta Bibliotheca, hence the Pope is crowned with a triple crown as what? King of heaven, that's blasphemy, and of earth, and of the lower regions. And we see he has a crown on his head. So the sea beast was a monarchy, but the beast that came out of the earth was not a monarchy. It was a republic state. Now, the most sure word of prophecy predicted that this earth beast, this new beast, which we will see is Protestant America, because Protestantism does not come under the authority of the Pope. Its king is Jesus Christ. The head of the church, according to Protestantism, is Jesus Christ. But according to the papacy, the head of the church is the Pope. So therefore, the United States is established as a Protestant nation. So the earth beast really represents Protestant America. But the prophecy indicates that Protestant America would become a world political and religious superpower that will promote the first beast, which is the papacy, and it will promote worship of the first beast, which is the papacy. Now, this seems very far-fetched. As a matter of fact, I don't know how many of us knew this man, D.M. Canwright, but D.M. Canwright said, when hearing this message that the United States will become a world superpower that will promote the papal religion, here's what he says: has the United States ever thus cooperated with the papacy? Emphatically, what? No. Is any man, what? Fanatical enough to believe it ever will? So according to D.M. Canwright, man, that is nonsense. The United States will, in 1914 he said this, the United States will never cooperate with the papacy in anything. And if any man believes that, he is a fanatic. And why did he say that? You see, because in that time, according to Roman Catholicism in the United States, in that time, indeed for most of the history of the United States, Catholics have been what? Persecuted. Catholics were persecuted in the early United States. It was not until the presidency of John F. Kennedy, which is still 1961, that Catholics lived in the U.S. free of scrutiny. The Ku Klux Klan, ridden south, discriminated against Catholics for their commonly Irish, Italian, Polish, and Spanish ethnicity. And then the righteous Protestant North and Midwest labeled all Catholics as anti-American papists, incapable of free thought, etc., and so on. So we see the Catholics were really outcast in early America, and that is why D.M. Canwright could not envision that United States will ever have anything to do with the papacy. But however, the more sure word of prophecy indicates that yes, Protestant America will indeed cause the world to worship the papacy. And this means that Protestant America's perception of the papacy must change over the years. And history reveals this is exactly what happened. Now, in those days was that if you were not part of the Roman Catholic Church, you cannot be saved. And this was what they said. Pope Eugene IV said, the Most Holy Roman Church firmly believes, professes, and preaches that none of those excesses exist in where? Outside the Catholic Church, not only pagans, but also Jews and heretics. That is, these heretics are people who do not accept the authority of the papacy, and schismatics. None of these can have a share in life eternal, but that they will go into eternal fire, which was prepared for the devil and his angels. No one. Let us